In this series we're going to have a look at HTML5, in particular the new elements that HTML5 offers web developers. In reality there are many elements and many ways that you can use them, so while this won't be a complete rundown of every single element and every single variation, it will include the more common elements as well as the more common ways to use them, so it will hopefully serve as a useful reference for the future. If you're doing web development for a living, HTML5 isn't going to be a major change in terms of how you go about your daily routine. There are still huge numbers of people who use older versions of web browsers, especially in big companies. Because companies, especially the bigger ones, will often create web-based applications which will only work in specific versions with specific browsers. For example, if a program wasn't written with a specific standard in mind, support for it in newer browsers may be limited, if the newer browser support it at all. In order for those companies to upgrade to more modern web browsers, they would need to review and rework all of their web-based applications for compatibility, and there often won't be a business case strong enough to do this. Simply being newer isn't a reason for a company to spend money. If you are a web developer and you need your websites to be compatible with older browsers, some of the functionality of HTML5 may not be supported, so bear that in mind. So HTML5 was finalised on the 28th of October 2014. The previous version of HTML, HTML 4.01, was finalised on the 24th of December 1999. That's 15 years with very little change in the specification. In that time, however, the internet has changed a lot in terms of how it works and what it's used for. It's gone from simple file transfers, which because we're using a web browser we see as web pages, with every page looking exactly the same for every single user, to an incredibly dynamic environment where pretty much every single web page is tailored to each unique visitor of the website. You can see an example of a page which was developed back then, which is still live today. When it was first developed, this website for Space Jam was considered to be top of the line and professional. Space Jam was produced by Warner Brothers, which was a huge hit at the time, so it's not like you could even argue that the site was low quality for the time. Warner Brothers were proud of this website. If you created a professional quality website which looked like this today, however, you would most likely be laughed at. So in the next video we're going to talk about the layout of pages and how to do it with HTML5. So stay tuned. HTML5 was actually being designed. The designers actually considered how websites are actually being used, and they actually found a pattern across the vast majority of especially commercial websites.